We wondered how Sam Darnold would be, not with the Vikings anymore, Justin Jefferson and that crew, but so far career high 70% completion percentage and 9 yards an attempt this season. All right, that's the Thursday night game. We've got an early morning Sunday game, first game ever in Ireland, and it's the Vikings against the Steelers. Vikings slight favorites here, and it's weird, Pete. This is their first of 2 straight games in Europe.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge for them. I mean, look, the Jaguars have played 2 in a row in London and England, and it's tough to do. You're there for an entire 11 days, and it's going to be a real challenge for the Vikings. This is the first one, though, and the first one's usually easier to navigate. The Vikings dominated the Bengals the other day. I mean, everything and anything that could have gone wrong for the Bengals did, and everything that could have gone right for the Vikings did. You got to throw that game out the window. This is going to be a much tougher game. I think what we saw from the Steelers last week, better defense. It wasn't great, but they turned the ball over. They had takeaways, and I think that matters. Rodgers can still throw the football. We saw him throw the game-winning touchdown pass. I'll take the Steelers here. And by the way, Dan Rooney always had strong ties to Ireland, so it'll be interesting how the crowd responds to it. I think there'll be a big Steelers crowd.
I love the Vikings in this spot. I just love what Brian Flores does pre-snap to frustrate quarterbacks, after the snap to frustrate quarterbacks. And this will be the real litmus test, because if there's anybody who's experienced enough to see what Brian Flores is doing and not be impacted by it, it's Aaron Rodgers. But it's that defense for the Steelers that might be a little bit over the hill, in my opinion. And while they are the most expensive defense in the National Football League, the dominant forces that we've seen in that defense, they haven't showed up in the big way that we've expected to see the entire defense show up and play like. That being said, I watched the Vikings dismantle the Cincinnati Bengals last week. I'm a firm believer in momentum, and defense travels.
So you got the Vikings.
I love the Vikings.
By the way, so we got our headline from the game. Kyle Long calls out T.J. Watt.
Well, he had his bounce-back game. He had 6 straight games without a sack, and had a couple last game.
Yeah.
You think this defense is fixed, Pete?
No, it's not fixed. There's other problems there. There's the run defense hasn't been great. The secondary has had busts in the secondary. They have injuries too. There've been some injuries on that side, but everybody has injuries. So he played better last week, and that's big. That's big for them. He has to play big in this game.
All right, you guys opposite sides on the first 2 games.
We like that. That's what we like that way.
And Pete bucking the trends to start too. You saw
these spreads, they lend themselves to.
Well, how many of those trend spreads were played in Dublin?
None.
Okay.
This is the first one. How about our early games on CBS?
There it is.
That's a real deep one there for you.
Look at the Bills and Saints. Oh, my goodness.
Typo, question mark?
16.5. Wow. And Giants, hey, that line has not moved since we got word that Jackson Dart is going to be the starter for the Giants. Let's start, though, with the Commanders and Falcons.
And I'm going to take the first one here.
Oh, well, I know you are, because we're going to talk about the Vikings.
The Vikings beat the Bengals 48-10, and it's funny because I was out doing errands on Friday. Like, that's the day that I try to be a normal human being, as normal as I possibly can. And I was thinking, oh, the Bengals. I remember 1992, the Vikings played in Cincinnati, and they beat Dave Shula. 42-7.
Wow.
And David Klingler was the quarterback of the Bengals. 42-7. Man, those were the days when the Vikings were good enough to beat a team like that. And then boom, 48-10. Boom. Now, that's just one of those, once it starts, it doesn't stop. You can't replicate that. This doesn't mean the Vikings are suddenly a Super Bowl team, much less a playoff team, because I still think they may miss the playoffs. But yesterday, and here's my superlative, it's exactly what I texted to Paul Allen, voice of the Vikings, at halftime of the game, because I didn't want to bother him while he was working. They signed the right Rodgers. That's my superlative.
I like that.
Isaiah was a free agent. Aaron was a free agent. Both wanted to play there, and they picked the right guy. That was just incredible. And I know there's an element of luck that goes into it, but, Harrison Smith, first game back, had an illness that caused him to miss the first 2, tipped the ball. Rodgers caught it, and they always say, hey, that's why he plays defense. He can't catch. He caught it and was gone. The second one was incredible. The second one, and we're first going to show you the tip pass that he returned 87 yards for a touchdown. He told me after the game, he watches the Jumbotron to see who's chasing him. because I said, yeah, we see so many guys turn their heads. He said, if I do that, I would have run sideways if I would have looked back. I had to use the Jumbotron to see that there was no one in position to get me. But what a return, what speed. He's just gone. The lineman thought he had an angle. This is like an obstacle illusion, as a wise man once said. Like, there's the big hit, but where's the ball?
He took the ball away
He's
before
got the ball.
Right.
He stripped the ball before the hit that I thought rattled the ball loose, and there he went. 2 defensive touchdowns in the same game. Watch this. Here he comes in with the peanut punch. There, the ball's out, and I thought the hit's what jarred the ball. And it's like, where's the ball? Where's the ball? He's got the ball. And then on the next drive, he punched the ball out again.
He did.
And the Vikings recovered.
It was a day of days.
It was one of those where they should have had a running clock in the second half. It was embarrassing.
Right.
It was, can we just get out of here? Hopefully nobody gets injured. The game was over. There was no way the Bengals were coming back. Isaiah Rodgers was incredible. It was a great move by the Vikings, who desperately need competent players in the back end of the defense. They got one.
He's a really good player. You know, he got a bad rap because he got suspended for gambling in Indianapolis.
And it wasn't gambling.
It wasn't.
It wasn't integrity of the game
Explain
gambling.
it, yeah.
It was guy who was gambling, right?
It was something minor, checking in the facility, right?
Yeah. I think it was one of the, like Jameson Williams, it's okay if you stand out on the street and do it, but if you walk inside the door, thou shalt be suspended.
Game, and he did it in the facility. He is a guy that can play man-to-man. He runs like 4-3 flat. He was a great addition for the Eagles last year in their secondary. I bet you they wish they had him still. Brian Flores knows cover corners, and he got him. Hey, my superlative is, who's playing quarterback? Jake from State Farm? I mean, geez, Jake Browning, is he just going to – I thought, again, he's thrown 3 interceptions basically in the last 2.5 quarters of last week's game against Jacksonville. Here's 2 more today. We showed that – or yesterday we showed the first one to Isaiah Rodgers, which was a dicey decision. On the run, somebody in your face, and then Harrison Smith is right behind him with also another crowd of guys around the intended receiver. I mean, that's not what they expected. The Bengals are 2-1, and they've been outplayed in all 3 games they've played so far. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if the what is it? The roof collapses on them. The floor falls out.
And they're 2-1. That's what's weird.
They don't deserve to be, but they found ways to win those first 2 games. But yeah, I was expecting more from their offense yesterday with a guy like Jake Browning, who's been around for a while, knows that offense and everything. That was a butt whooping.
It makes you wonder what they're going to do. There aren't a lot of options out there by way of free agent.
Right.
A trade could be possible. You've got Jameis Winston.
They won't trade
around.
Anybody.
Well,
maybe for a Jameis Winston. They're not going to trade like a Kirk Cousins, but a Jameis Winston maybe.
Well, and
maybe.
based on the way the Falcons played yesterday, they may want to keep Kirk Cousins around. Let's take a break. When we return, and look, it was a big day, and on other days this would have been the biggest headline. And Browns, we apologize, but the Cleveland Browns is not the Browns. They pulled off the upset of the day.
What's up, Vikings Nation? Victor here with Report Vikings, and let me tell you, the Vikings just made a sneaky roster move that could actually pay off down the road. Minnesota officially signed former 49ers running back Corey Kiner to the practice squad. Now, this isn't a blockbuster headline, but it's one of those under-the-radar additions that makes me perk up as a fan. So who is Corey Kiner? He's only 23 years old, came into the league as an undrafted free agent with the 49ers, and unfortunately never got to play in a regular season game because he landed on injured reserve during training camp. San Francisco ended up cutting ties, and now the Vikings are giving him a shot to prove himself. Here's the interesting part. Minnesota's receiving core is finally healthy. Justin Jefferson's back, Jordan Addison will be returning after suspension, and TJ Hawkinson is settling in. But in the backfield, things have been rough. We've already seen Aaron Jones banged up, Ty Chandler's on IR, and even CJ Ham's been unavailable. So bringing in a young, fresh-legged guy like Kiner to the practice squad feels like a safety net, but also a low-risk, high-reward move. At Cincinnati, Kiner was known for his compact build and burst. He averaged 5.4 yards per carry in 2023 and racked up over 200 rushing yards in 2 college seasons after transferring from LSU. too. He's not some big name star, but he's a grinder, and honestly, that's exactly the type of back that can climb a depth chart when injuries pile up, which, let's be honest, has been the story of the Vikings running back room so far this year. Now, let's not overhype it. He's on the practice squad, so we might not see him on the field this Sunday in Cincinnati or in London the following week. But Kevin O'Connell and Queasy love adding guys who fit the system, and if Kiner shows flashes in practice, don't be shocked if he gets elevated to the active roster sooner than later. Here's my question for you guys. Do you think Corey Kiner is just a depth body for practice, or does he actually have the potential to crack the active roster if the running back injuries keep stacking up? Drop your takes in the comments. Hit that like button if you're glad the front office is being proactive, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for all things Vikings. This is Victor with Report Vikings, S-Call Nation. Let's keep this momentum going.